everybody, welcome to another night of chess and psychology. Hope you are having a good day. So far my week has been going pretty well. I got a chance to, well, do a lot of fun stuff, packing, unpacking, new house, a lot of new chess material to look at too. And while I was just scrolling through some of my games, I came upon two games that I had advantage against higher rated opponents, and I kind of didn't exactly use it the way I should have. So, ergo, the name of today's lecture, How Much Does Material Matter? And that's something that I struggled with quite a lot during my chess career. That's always like, you're like a pawn up. How much does it mean? You have more exchange, one more exchange. Does it mean you're winning? Can your opponent still get away with it? So that's something that I'm gonna try and show you today. Also, I'm sitting in my coach's office, Alejandro Ramirez, since nobody's coming to use the chess room in Science University. I'm just sitting here using his chair. So thank you, Alejandro. Anyways, let's get back to the chess of it. Also, let me get my chat activated. Not sure where it's go. There we go. Alright. So, the first game that I want to show you is a game I had against Anna Muzychuk back in 2016. 2016 was a very successful year for me, also 2015. And then 2017, I moved to St. Louis University, and I kind of shifted gears from being like a full-time chess player to a full-time student / chess player. So I thought it would be interesting time to look at that. So back in 2016, I was invited to play in a closed round-robin event in Germany, Munich, where I actually did my TED Talk last summer too. And this tournament was called Beautiful Minds, and they were some really great chess players, and me. I believe I was the youngest of them. There were the Muzychuk sisters. There was like Nedra Short there. There were like one or two 2700s. So I was playing some big monsters, and I got a really good experience out of it. And kind of fun fact, right after this tournament, on December 3rd, I did my SATs and I got the score that I kind of wanted, and I came to SLU. So back to the chess of it, instead of the history of it. I did a little bit of preparation before the game because the games were kind of condensed, but since this was a round robin, I had some idea that who was going to play, and about the color we kind of figured it out after the first round. Well, when the pairings for the first round were drawn. So I did take a quick look at what Anna was playing, and this variation, exactly, this Sicilian, thank you. But no, this it depends on how you play it, but some players like to play knight d5 early on, but I'm a big fan of bishop g5, and I've looked at different variations. Like here, knight d5 is kind of a given. The Sveshnikov defense kind of feels like an attack, but anyways, there are different variations. You can try with c3, you can try with c4. There are some sacrifices on b5. I've taken a look on those two. You could also try to take and then try with knight d. Oops, not taking with the queen is not so good because you lose tempo, but still you take over d5, and these are also some interesting lines. But just looking at it from, let's say, somebody who has no idea what's going on at this position, you're clearly gonna see that this the black's position has some holes in it, and this outpost on d5 is something that with white we can try to use, but at the same time it's not so easy because black has some activity in the queen side, and white could also have some issues with center. Like if black is to play d5, then white's having some issues. So, and yeah, good thinking, Fragrance. Yes, I do remember that Nega's book did have a recommendation on this too. I looked at it way before that too, 2011, with Elshan when he was my coach, and I thought it was interesting, but I like to play this a little bit more positionally. So I usually play this line, either c3 or c4. And in this game, especially since it was a rapid tournament, I kind of wanted to just give c4 a bit of more devotion. So after c4, there are different lines. b4 is the main line, and after knight c2, there's going to be black's going to castle, play a5, try to do bishop g5, and ideally try to do something with f5. That's what black is trying to do. White is still using this d5 square and blocking this d4 square, so that's good. But there are some issues with the bishop on f1, so sometimes we might want to just get this bishop out with h4 and bishop h3s. So yeah, those are some of the ideas that we could try and do. And whoa, this board has so many errors right now. Alright, so that's like a general overview of the middle game that we could be facing in this game. But anyways, Anna didn't play b4, she just went for knight d4. So knight d4, the first thing you're gonna notice is, oh, well, can I take this? So my first question to you guys, what should we do? Can we take on b5? Should we take on b5? If not, what do you want to do? Take on f6? I'm getting a lot of no's. Well, if you don't want to take on b5, then what else do you want to do? Alright, I can see. Well, if you try to play knight c2, you have to keep in mind that this queen a5 is also coming up. So if you play knight c2, well, there's well, queen a5, so now there's b4. But what if something like bishop g4? Going after the queen. If you play queen d2, can I go for bishop g5? Yeah, the bishops are getting way too activated. No, I am not a biggest fan of trying knight c2. If there was b4, then yes, knight c2 makes kind of more sense, because then you have something, clear target to go after. But in this specific situation, I wouldn't really recommend knight c2. But hold on, why do you guys not like taking on b5? If black takes back, well, that's great. We're just gonna take knight takes b5. If knight takes, whoa, this is amazing. Just take with bishop, and bishop d7 doesn't really work because of the b6 square. Or, well, actually, not even b6 square. Can I just take on f6? Or can I just castle and start pushing these guys? Yeah, I think this might be a little bit better. Well, sorry, not a little bit better. This is much better for white. So black should not take that back with the pawn. Also, I was kind of hoping it would stay on the names in the chat. Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna disable that for a second. Alright, there we go. It's a little too hopeful. Instead of castles, knight b6. So you are saying if take, well, knight b6 also had its own problems. So we were talking about take, bishop d7, and I think the issue with knight b6, well, I mean, actually this, I was thinking if there are any potential checks, but no, just, no, this is still winning for white. Never mind, this works too. Yeah. Yes, you're correct. Knight b6 is possible, but still. So we know that if he takes c takes b5, a takes b5 is not the best choice for black. So what else do you think black could do? Black should try and develop, right? So how? Yes, yes. About the room, this is Alejandro's office at St. Louis University's chess room. So I've hijacked his office officially and his chair. It's a nice chair. I might actually come here to study more often. Yeah, queen a5 is possible, but the problem with queen a5 is that if you play queen a5 right away, I can just play queen d2, and you kind of are either forced to exchange the queens or kind of go back, and that doesn't really do any good. So queen a5 is worth considering, but it's not really working right now. So yes, bishop e6 is the best one, and that's what Anna did too. After bishop e6, I simply just took on a6 because, well, first of all, free pawn. Second of all, well, now black is trying to create some threats with, let's say if I just play something like bishop d3, now black wants to take over here and give me check. I don't have b4, so I don't really have queen d2 either, because then after take, this knight on d5, remember when the knight was on d5, we could take on f6, we could try and take on a5 and give c7 check, pick this up. That knight on d5 was great. Now without the knight on d5, black is actually doing pretty well. There's a question about queen a5 in the first place. What do you mean? Instead of bishop e6? Well, we did mention it. Or are you talking about here? If here queen a5, this is also possible, but still queen d2. And I do stop all of these threats. So that doesn't really help black either. And these endgames is quite more comfortable for white. Yes, the king is not castled, but we don't really need castling when there's no attack on the king, especially in this position. This is a weakness. We are going to start a pawn march in the queen side, and I think white's position is more desirable. So queen a5 would have to be a very specific situation. Anyways, so now after take, queen a5 check. We already spoke about this. We do have to play queen d2. Now in this position, I think queen d5 was something that was worth considering, but I think after queen d5 I was thinking about bishop b5 check and trying to just make my opponent not castle, and then castle, oops, can't castle, there's knight f3. Oops, can I just do rook f1? Rook d1? No, taking on g2, that's going to be a huge problem. Well, maybe not bishop b5, maybe we could try to do knight c2. Yeah, I think knight c2 might be a chill way to play this. If you castle, then I can take over here, take that. This might be an issue. Bishop d3, queen takes here. What do you guys think we should do now? So white to move. What should we do? The rook is a problem. If you play rook f1, there could be rook e8 check, king d1, maybe bishop g5. No, knight c2 is not a blunder. We'll go back to knight c2, but yeah, thank you, Villa. Long castle. It's kind of crazy, right? If you play bishop g5, I just have f4. This is a pretty cool position. And long castle, the other good thing about it is that this bishop is covering this crucial file, so black can't really attack my king. You give me 2 moves, I'll play king b1, rook g1, and you're the one who is in big problem. Alright, there was a question about knight c2. Well, here we talked about knight c2. We can't really castle as white, so that's why we play knight c2. If my bishop was already on d3, oh, believe me, I would have castled. So I think knight c2 is the best one here, and if take, castle, maybe I can just try to play queen c4. Gotta move your queen, maybe d4. My idea is that I want to get my bishop out without losing this pawn, because when the queen was on d5, queen could take g2, right? Let me go back. There's a question about bishop c4. Well, if take here, you play bishop c4. No, taking on g2 and then knight f3, I don't see how you can hold this. If you do long castle now, there's bishop g5, no more f4s, because, whoops, f4, he just takes it. So, yeah, I don't think this is pretty lost. I don't like this. She should have traded queens because she's high rated. Well, I don't think that's how she thought. I also don't think that's how I think when I'm playing with lower rated. I just try to figure out what the position needs and try to complicate it so my opponent makes a mistake. In this position, after queen d2, she did try to complicate the position, and she took rook takes a6. So, what do you guys think? Should we take this rook? Should we just let it be? Is it a trap? Keep in mind that if you do take that rook on a6, you're not going to be able to do short castle pretty much ever, since the queen is cutting my king's way. So, what do you think we should do as white? How do I understand what the position needs? Well, basically, if the easiest way is to try and detect what the weaknesses in the position and how you can try and either improve them if you are the one with the weakness, or how can you try and exploit them if your opponent has those weaknesses. So right now, I think white's biggest strength is these 2 pawns. So maybe that's something that we could work on and try to, well, push. So that's one thing that I was kind of hoping to achieve during this game. And also, yes, understanding different middle games does really help with your understanding of what the position needs. Because a lot of the, not a lot of the time, but different, when you are playing different openings, you understand different middle games better, and you kind of figure out where the pieces belong. So for one, I do know that this knight doesn't belong here, so that's something that I gotta improve. I gotta figure out what to do with my king. So those are some of the little things that you could try and work around a little. We could play something like bishop d3, but this pawn is also falling, so what if queen takes here? Even if you take on a6, oh boy, you can just take on g2. Still long castle, there's bishop g5 and knight f3 is popping, so this is quite painful. So we kind of do have to take it over here. And now, what do you think we should do? What shall we do with the king? Knight c2, your knight isn't the problem, your king is. So you gotta figure out what to do with the king. because even if you play knight c2 now, isn't there a knight b3 tactically? Nope, sorry, never mind. Maybe bishop g5? Because if you take now, well, your e2 is an issue. Maybe knight e3, now there's knight b3, so can't do knight e3, maybe queen d1. Yeah, I don't really like this. I prefer not to allow bishop g5. Thank you, Fragrance. Yeah, we should do long castle. Long castle, it would have been pretty interesting because after long castle, let's say black plays short castle, and then we can try with king b1, just put the king in a safe position, and we could just go for a queen exchange. Now this is a quite comfortable endgame if black were to take, which I doubt, but still, if we got this position, yes, this knight is pretty strong, but we are still gonna do our best to start pushing these pawns. So it would be very, very comfortable, and that's something that I didn't do in the game. I should have done this castle, but I didn't. So in the game, I was trying to figure out how to get this rook out, because my king isn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem is this rook. Yes, the king is not very ideal, but it's defended, and their center center isn't really open, so I'm not that worried about my king. If I had my rook on like the 3rd rank, I think my king is pretty covered. So I tried with h4. And my idea was to try and get my rook out, and just try to get something out with on the 3rd rank. I did not play f3 just yet. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like that's the question. So how much does material matter? We have more material. We have this clear advantage, long-standing advantage of your pawn structure and the fact that you have more material, but your opponent is pretty active, and your opponent does have compensation. So you have to find the most precise moves, the most accurate moves. So I played h4, which kind of didn't really help that cause. Anyways, after h4, she played castle, and I finally decided, alright, enough is enough, let's try to get rid of that knight. What do you think is the best move for black? If black takes knight takes c2, oh great, I'll just take that with the queen, and then I'll play queen e2, and I'll just castle. But knight b3 doesn't work right now because my knight on c2 is defending my a1 rook. That's a mistake I also made a few moves ago when I suggested knight b2 and the knight was on c2, so there's nothing wrong with suggesting it as long as you think about it before you play it. You're making candidate moves. You're trying to see if knight b3 is a viable candidate move or not. Queen c4 is interesting. Oh, rook c8 is the best one. Yeah, rook c8. After rook c8, you are very clear. You gotta move this knight. Rook c1 was also possible, but I was really hoping to keep as much as my pawns as I could. So I was a little afraid of something like queen c4, and then I'm having some issues with both pawns. This is still pretty playable. I should have played king d1, queen takes d5, and try and exchange some stuff. Something like that, perhaps. But the biggest mistake I made in this game was not making long castle. I was still hopeful that I could get my king some cover or around here and still keep the rook on h1. I should have understood that my position needs my king to be on b1, and I need this rook to also be activated. Just because it's behind a pass pawn doesn't mean it's activated. So that was my biggest mistake in this game. Anyways, after knight c2, rook c8, I decided to take on d4 and get rid of that very annoying knight. Now, I thought my position was doing alright. I just thought I should figure out something with the king again. So I could have thought about f3. I did think about f3, but I was worried about d3 and now rook c2 coming up, so then I would have to play like rook c1, check, maybe king f1. Now e2 is also weak. Maybe something with like bishop e5 or something with h. Whoops, too much h. h5, so the king has some room to breathe. Yeah, I don't really like this. I think black is doing fine, especially since my rook is also kind of suffocating. Yeah, exactly. I was quite skeptical about whether or not I should have taken here, but I just didn't want to play rook c1 because of queen c4, and knight e3 also is not very ideal just because this bishop jumps to the other side, and yeah, not really, it's not a happy picture. So after take, I just went for a4. And my idea was a4, but it's kind of clear. Alright, these two pawns are my advantage. The rook versus bishop is my advantage. I'm gonna start using these. So after a4, what do you think? What do you think now we should do as white? Well, be easy. That's not completely true. The knight on a3 would have been a hero if we did long castle. Also, yes, that is true. Usually on Sveshnikov, the knight ends up on a3, and it's not a very pretty sight. So, white to move, what do you think we should do? Here is also, I made another mistake, inaccuracy. So what do you think is the most accurate move? You don't have that many moves, so you could start thinking about candidate moves. So yeah, push a4 pawn, that's definitely a candidate move. f3, another candidate move. Not sure about rook h3, just rook h3 seems very weird. What are you trying to do after this? Queen f1, you lose this guy. Yeah, let's not lose 3 pieces. I'm also teaching camps in the mornings, so one of my biggest rules is don't give your opponents free gifts. We try to do the same over here. Let's not give our opponents free gifts. So we do have some candidate moves. a5 is definitely a candidate move, f3 is definitely a candidate move. When I was looking at this with Engine, I got a recommendation for f4 too, but it's just kind of to be honest, not really, doesn't make much sense to me. If I'm gonna play, because the idea behind f4 is that yes, you are opening some room for your king, you're also taking away square from bishop, and then you might want to push over here, so I am not, f4 feels like a superhuman move. It didn't feel right just even after looking at it with the engine. So we're between a5 and f3. Let's try to go a little deeper. If we play a5, the one thing we should be worried about is rook e8 check, right? Because if rook e8 check, we have to play king d1. And then after, let's say a5, rook e8, king d1, d3. So a5, rook e8, king d1, d3. Now what do you want to do as white? You have to be quite precise, because now rook e2 is coming up, your queen is having some serious issues, queen c2 is coming up, a lot of stuff are coming up. So rook c1, there's a queen b3, whoopsie doopsie, careful. Rook h3 or rook a3. I think those two are something to be considered. I think the problem of rook h3 is still queen b3, and then yes, rook e1 and queen c2. So we can't really do this rook h3. So another problem of this position is queen b2, queen b3. So these rook e2 or queen b3 are the serious threats. So you kind of gotta play this rook a3 to stop them. So after rook a3, let's say black simply takes on d5. What do you think we should do? So white to move, what do you think we should do? Make sure you think about what does black want. So I agree, we do have to think about taking on d3, but does queen g2 worry you? I'm not sure about a6, because takes over here, then now there's this check. Like let's say you play rook e1, that check over there, and then can I throw in another check, rook c8? Maybe not rook c8, maybe queen c6, you move this guy, and yes, take, and queen c2, queen takes b2, it's mate. So that's a problem. So yeah, I don't think we should allow our opponent that much compensation, game with queen g2, especially with rook e1. Yeah, I don't really see a way out of this with queen c6. Maybe rook c3 to stop this idea of queen c2, queen b2 to do, well, checkmate. So after rook takes rook coming to c3, most likely take. Let's take that too. Gotta take that back, hoping for some checkmate, but oh nope, that's not it. Alright, king d2. I think this is still playable, but black definitely has the upper hand. So yeah, I think this is I don't like this for white. So we should, whatever we do, we should try to eliminate either this pawn or defend this pawn. So I was thinking maybe f3, but even with f3, I think I mean, I actually do kind of like f3. You can't really defend this, even if you play rook e2. I'm just gonna take over here. Now I'm attacking both of these, so this is super winning. So yeah, this is not very desirable for black. So I think f3 was a key move. Also, another idea that we could work on was, let's say queen takes d3. Queen takes g2, now rook e1. Now there are no more checks. Well, actually that's not correct. There is this check, but queen f3. And or just f3. Now if you try to simply take my rook, what do you guys think about this position? Do you think white is better here? Do you think black is better? Who do you want to be? Yeah, I think white is actually, exactly. Good job, guys. White is better, and if black can't find anything super quick, then black is in trouble. So, yeah, exactly. That pawn is a baby queen. So, yeah, technically black could try and take, but black's gonna run out of checks soon. So this is something that we could, well, actually in the game I could try, and the problem was that here I slightly chickened out, and instead of pushing for a5, to try and push for the queen, I just played f3. f3 is not a bad move, it's like the second best move, but the problem with f3 is that psychologically you're showing your opponent that, well, you're kind of scared and you're chickening out. Also, you should always try to play for a win, and that's something that I say and I've been trying to do in my own games, but not necessarily successful in every single game. But that's something that I should have done, because now after f3, what do you think black can do? What's the most annoying thing that black could do? You did open a leeway for your king, so that's understandable. That is true, 2 rooks would dominate a rook and a bishop, but we kind of need to get those 2 rooks in the game. My rook on h1 is just chilling for right now, taking a nap. Exactly, so something between d3 or rook e8, those would be quite annoying, right? I think d3 would be the most accurate one, because after d3, if I were to play accurately and I played something like a5, now let's say, kind of want to try with check, king f1, and now this bishop is kind of monstrous, could get to d4 and dominate here too. I was trying to see if there are any dangers that, maybe something with h5, so black could not worry about the back rank. Maybe rook a3. Rook a3's problem. Actually, this is good. Who can tell me what is wrong with rook a3? Let's try and sharpen our tactical skills too. The problem was that if before h5, if black played rook e2, there was rook e1 and back rank mate. So yes, good job. Take on b2 and d2 check. Nice one, Patrick. So after take, this is a huge problem. You can't really take that because, well, d2. You can't really take on d3 because, actually I'm gonna keep asking why, because why do you think this is so much better for black? What do you think is the one move that would make white's position quite miserable? So black to move, what do you think black should do? Bishop c3, bishop c1. You guys are thinking about let me just tell you, it's quite more sophisticated than just attacking the queen. Let me just tell you that. It's something more about, if it's white to move, white would try and run away with something like king f2, put the king like maybe h2, try to go like king g1, king h2. So we kind of have to stop that. Thank you. Bishop d4 is the best one. Taking away these squares, the king also can't go anywhere, so the king is kind of struggling, right? So after bishop d4, black is actually totally winning. I can't stop rook e3. I can't bring out this rook. I might as well toss this rook off the board. If I play something like f4, so if you play rook e3, I can try and play rook h3. That would actually work, but rook e3 is not the best move. I can simply play rook to b8 and bring this rook from the other side. Right? So yes, let's go a little bit back. That's why rook a3 is bad. And let me go a little bit before too. So in this position, Anna played rook e8, but she should have played d3. d3 would have been the most accurate. She did play d3 a little after playing rook e8, but after d3, I would be in big trouble, because after a5, now check, and something just as simple as h5, because if rook e2 now, I would have rook e1. Ooh, maybe rook c1. Try and go back rank it there. Anyways, my point being that this is better for white. Not winning, but still much better due to having the pass pawns. I assume rook e1 also works quite nice. Maybe bishop d4 again to take squares away, because now we can't really take this. I mean, we can, but still you have problem with your rook. Now maybe bishop goes to try and dance around a little. Yeah, it's not very pleasant. But anyways, so in this position, h5 is the best one. And we just talked about rook a3 and why this is bad, because the bishop takes on b2. So what else do you think we should do? Maybe something like maybe rook d1 to go after this guy. Let's say we played this. What do you think is the best move for black? Because if black doesn't play active and gives me like 5 moves, I'm gonna take your d3, I'm gonna get my king up, I'm gonna bring up the other rook, and I'm gonna enjoy my 2 pass pawns. It is kind of a question of coordination, yeah. So what do you think black should do now? Black has kind of like a one best move. Well, it's good to know you've been around watching the streams, BEC. You guys are kind of overthinking this. Bishop d4 is interesting, but the problem with bishop d4 is that you're kind of losing this now. So, with the queen, so no pins, nothing. I'm gonna eat your pawn, no kidding. So you kind of have to be a little bit more tricky than that. Exactly, there is a free pawn. Well, not this free pawn, because if you take queen takes d5, I can just play a6 first and you're still losing this. So, no problem there. But how about this other free pawn? What do you think we should do now in this position as white? Well, you could also take on h4, because if I play queen d3 now, then there's a problem of rook e1 checkmate. So we can't really take on d3. So taking on h4 is like an indirect way of protecting d3. So what do you think we should do as white now? Exactly, queen d3 is a really bad move. So g4, not really sure about g4 actually. So g4, you do have a viable threat. That's interesting. What about I play g5? I still keep my bishop here. Yeah, even now taking on h4 is a good choice, and yes, here taking on h4 is also the best choice. And you can just take on here, and you're questioning your opponent. Do you want to draw? Because if king g1, there's still rook e1, so best black could do is perpetual now, because, well, if black just gives me 3 moves, I'm gonna push, 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 and make a queen. So, alright. Okay, so what I was trying to show you this whole long line was that d3 was the best move, and I also should be pushing for a5. I should have pushed for a5 before f3, I should push for a5 any chance I get, and I didn't. I chickened out. So this is the position we ended up in. She gave me check first and then played d3. I got the chance to play rook e1. I was pretty happy about that. And in this position, she played bishop d4 check. What should we do? What are you going to do with your king? You have two choices, g3 or f1. Which one do you think is better? And hint, I did choose the best one. Yeah, g3 is the best one. King f1 would... The problem with king f1 is I can just take this, or, hold on, what about rook e2? Knife, take, king over there, maybe I can try to dance with the bishop. We've seen this position before. If take, now there's this check, then there's that check. Yeah, but this is a perpetual. Anyways, king f1 is not like a blunder, but it's definitely not the most accurate one. So I played accurately. I played king g3, and after king g3, she played rook a8. And what do you think we should do now? Keep in mind this was a rapid game, so by this point we were both in quite a huge time trouble. And by engines, I have advantage. It was about around +2, but this is not still easy. You still have to figure out what to do with your position, how you're gonna put your king in a safe position, how you're gonna get rid of this pawn, how you're gonna keep this pawn, how you get this rook out. So there are a lot of issues that as white you have to solve. I should have played a5. So good one, George. a5 is the best one because we have to keep this pawn. That's my golden star. That's my golden soldier, I guess. I should have kept it. And I thought that the safety of my king and the activity of my rooks are more important at that pawn than that pawn. And I kind of just gave that up without a fight. I just played rook d1. I thought rook d1 was a very interesting move. But what I missed is rook takes a4, and the problem is that if I take on d3 now, then there's bishop e5. I can't play king h3 because, well, you see, bye-bye mate. So I would have to play king f2, and after king f2, queen c5, king e2, and that kind of ruins the whole flow that we were having and putting the king in the corner, right? So after rook a4, I only have one move to try and save my position because I made the mistake of allowing this rook to activate, and now I've created a monster in the fourth rank. So one move. What do you think that move is? I'm not gonna give out any hints, but you already see what happens if we take queen takes d3. Nope, not rook c1, but yes to f4. Fun fact, I played rook c1 in the game, and that's how I lost. I should have played f4, and because this bishop e5 is a monster, the problem was bishop e5, so I should have stopped that. So, now, rook c1, what do you think we should do? What do you think black can do to kind of wrap this game up? Come on guys, I know you can mate me. It's almost done. I'm almost getting mated. Just a few more moves. So what's the problem with rook c1? If you move the queen, I'm gonna mate you, and that will be very nice. But unfortunately, Anna was smarter than that and did the bishop e5 check. Only move king f2. Now queen d4 check. Pretty much only move king back to f1. And I was like, my king was up here. My rook was about to be free. But in this position, it's very important not to rush it, even when you can see that black is doing much better. You just have to figure out not to get overexcited and not blunder mate. And she didn't blunder mate, she just played this h6. And I should have tried with something like maybe g3 to try and get the king out, but this is also pretty hopeless. Bishop takes g3, and even if I try king up, yeah, it's still quite sad. I've lost my golden boy, my a4 pawn. I'm losing my exchange. Oh boy. So in the game, I simply played rook d1 because I was still hopeful to get this guy. Unfortunately, rook c4. I can't really take here because, well, guess what? I'm gonna lose this rook. So I went ahead and I played rook h3. I was quite hopeful to get maybe a f4 to get to eat that. But after rook c2, queen e1, oh yeah, rook e2, and that is how I lost to world champion Anna Muzychuk. Still hurts to this day. I had a much better position. So what we learned from this game is even when your position is beginning to look a little funky, you can think about long castle. You just because it's weird doesn't mean it's a bad move. Back here, when we were talking about long castle, shouldn't have done this long castle, shouldn't have waited too long, shouldn't have tried to be too hopeful of getting my king to a safe spot in the king's side. Another thing that we've learned is not to let go of our golden boys too easily. This guy was my golden boy, and I still miss him. Could have been a beautiful queen. Anyways, I hope you guys had fun with this game. Kind of painful for me, but quite educational, hopefully. So, without much more comments, I am gonna thank Ben Simon for the being the man behind the cameras, well, technically behind the computer, and give the stream to Var. Don't go anywhere, he'll be back shortly. And